Tomorrow marks 1 year since the submersible, the Titan, imploded in the ocean southeast of Newfoundland. All 5 people on board were killed. Today, the Transportation Safety Board released a report on submersibles like it operating in Canadian waters. The TSB found that some are registered in Canada or another country, and some are not registered at all. Officials with the Safety Board have written to Transport Canada, citing concerns that some vessels haven't been subject to proper oversight and requested, quote, follow-up action from the federal government. My next guest is calling for Transport Canada to have greater jurisdiction over these expeditions. Mervin Wiseman is a former search and rescue coordinator for the Canadian Coast Guard. He joins me tonight from North Harbour, Newfoundland and Labrador. Thanks for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, what's your reaction to what the TSB is saying?
Well, you know, look, the issue of jurisdiction, I think, has dominated this conversation for a long time. I'm not sure that we're chasing the right horse there. I mean, it's for me. I think the jurisdictional issues, while there, yes, is really should not be the predominant factor here. Look, we lost 5 people, and there's issues of standards, issues of safety with regard to search and rescue, the very, very poor, if any, search and rescue contingency plan at all during this event. And I think these are the 2 main components that we need to address. And yes, indeed, we certainly need the issue of jurisdiction in terms of having the authority to implement the right measures to prevent it from happening again.
Well, I mean, I was there when this all happened in the days following, and it seems odd to me that, now this conversation about jurisdiction is happening. This is a year later. Does it seem odd to you?
Yeah, it certainly does, for sure. And the time lapse as well. I think there was an expectation. I know it was my expectation. I think the public expectation that there would have been a lot of study, a lot of investigation, a lot of public consultation up to this point. It was promised during the winter. I've had measures, I've had legal counsel, I've had taken measures to find out, what the formal terms of reference is. So far, I haven't gotten it. I do understand that the the Safety Board here in Canada has jurisdiction over the Polar Prince, which is a Canadian registered vessel that was in charge and executing the search and rescue operation, and also executing really the entire operation, the dive and so on and so forth. So they'll be focusing on the search and rescue piece, among other things, but it's the lead agency, which of course is the United States Maritime Board of Investigation, MSI, that really is the lead. We'll be looking at, I guess, the standards and so on, as well as the jurisdiction. But, the issue of jurisdiction has been around for a long time with all maritime activity, and we have a lot of convention. We have a lot of bilateral and trilateral agreements through the International Maritime Organization, IMO, where, a lot of the collaboration that's needed for implementation of rules and regulations are there already. So, let's get on with it and let's flesh that out and let's talk about it through an inquiry. I see a lot of kicking the can and shuffling of feet here, probably because they're not simply sure how it should be handled.
So we know that Titan was not registered in Canada, yet the mission sailed from St. John's. Who should have been responsible for regulating and inspecting the submersible?
It is the state, the country in which it is registered. The submersible sailed from here. My understanding was that the submersible was registered in the United States, so they would have a lot of jurisdiction there. But like I said, through bilateral and multilateral agreements, the collaboration framework is all set to go on that front. But just to cut to the chase, with this craft operating out of the Newfoundland port, and attachment to other agencies like the Marine Institute and many others, there was an expectation, and I think precedents to show that a more proactive approach, really in terms of oversight, really should have happened in this country on that safety component. In terms of the standard itself, well, that's a bit of a no man's land. Where you go with that, I think certainly we need to see a full investigation. Right. We have classification standards, classification societies who would set standards, But the owner of Ocean Gate refused to engage in that for reasons that we've heard a lot about, the material that was being used and so on in the semi-submersible. We'll see where we go. But many other craft of this nature has been certified, and so it's not as if we're breaking new ground here. This has already been done,
So what would you like to see happen in the immediate? So if something like this happens again, there won't be this confusion.
Well, look, hey, talk about things happening again. We have a couple of billionaires south of the border who's already engaging in the last couple of weeks about doing another dive. Seriously, don't understand how that kind of a dialogue can go forward intelligently without having some good recommendations with regard to how the safety standards should be applied. Not only structural safety standards, but certainly to the search and rescue safety standards. We saw one of the largest search and rescue operations at Sit the Bar, or the largest search and rescue operation in terms of effort and the number of resources employed, mostly paid for by the public in Canada, the Canadian government. But nevertheless, it's something that we accept and we go forward with. It may have been negated by the very fact that we had a good search and rescue contingency plan. This submersible was lost lost communications at 9:30 in the morning, and it was reported 5:30 that evening.
Right.
There were no safety redundancies built in, and there's a whole range of things. So I want to see those items addressed and see, look, what can we learn from that? What can we implement from that, either by regulation, rules, or protocol, to prevent that from happening again, especially in light of the discussions going forward that there's a couple of people already to, try it almost immediately.
Well, certainly a lot more to discuss here, but we have to leave it here for now. Mr. Wiseman, appreciate your time.
Anytime. Thank you.
That was Mervin Wiseman, former search and rescue coordinator for the Canadian Coast Guard.